My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 32 years old, and 6 months ago, my uncle, my father's only brother, looked me straight in the eye at my grandmother's funeral and told me I'd inherited her bakery. The same bakery where I spent every summer from age 7 learning to knead dough and measure yeast. The bakery that smelled like cinnamon and possibility. He handed me a single rusted key on a fraying ribbon and said, "She wanted you to have it, Claire. Make her proud." 3 weeks ago, that same uncle served me with eviction papers. He claimed I'd forged my grandmother's signature on a lease agreement, that I was never the owner, just a tenant who'd stopped paying rent. He said I had 72 hours to vacate, or he'd have me arrested for trespassing and fraud. When I walked into that bakery with a locksmith, a real estate attorney, and a manila envelope I'd found hidden in my grandmother's piano bench, my uncle's face went from smug to ashen in approximately 4 seconds. Before I tell you what was in that envelope, please subscribe only if this story resonates with something you've lived through. And drop your city and the current time where you are in the comments. I want to know who's reading this at 3 a.m. when they can't sleep because their own family has made them feel invisible. Now let me take you back to a cold Tuesday in September, the day my Uncle Richard handed me that key and made me believe I'd finally been chosen. It starts in the parking lot of St. Augustine's Church, right after we've lowered my grandmother's casket into the ground. I'm standing beside my car, still holding the single white rose they gave each of us to throw onto the grave, when my Uncle Richard approaches. He's 61, my father's older brother, the one who took over the family's commercial real estate business when my grandfather died. He's wearing a charcoal suit that costs more than my monthly rent, and his wife Linda stands 3 steps behind him, silent, her hands clasped in front of her like she's posing for a portrait. Richard doesn't do small talk. He pulls a small jewelry box from his jacket pocket, velvet, forest green, the corners worn soft, and inside is a brass key on a faded yellow ribbon. "Your grandmother left instructions," he says. "The bakery goes to you." I stare at the key. The bakery. Rosie's Rise and Shine, the corner shop on Maple Avenue, where my grandmother spent 43 years making sourdough, brioche, and the best cinnamon rolls in 3 counties. Where she taught me to fold butter into dough, to listen for the sound of a proper knead, to know when bread is ready, not by the clock, but by feel. "Are you serious?" My voice cracks. "Dead serious." He doesn't smile. "She wanted someone who'd respect what she built. You're a baker, Claire. It makes sense." I look past him to where my father is standing with my Aunt Diane, Richard's younger sister. My father catches my eye, then looks away. He's always looked away. I take the key. It's heavier than I expected. "Thank you," I whisper. Richard nods once, sharp, like we've just closed a business transaction. "Lock's been changed. That's the only copy. Building's paid off. Utilities are in your name as of yesterday. She set it up before she passed." He walks away before I can ask anything else. Linda doesn't move. She's staring at me with an expression I can't read, somewhere between pity and warning. Then she turns and follows her husband. I stand there holding that key, and for the first time in 10 years, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, my family sees me as more than the daughter who dropped out of culinary school to work in a grocery store bakery. Maybe I'm finally worth something. I should have known better. I'm 9 years old, standing on a wooden stool in the back kitchen of Rosie's Rise and Shine, my hands dusted white with flour. My grandmother, everyone calls her Rosie, even me, is beside me, her strong, veined hands guiding mine as we shape a ball of dough. "Feel that?" she says. "That's gluten forming. That's structure. You can't see it, but it's there, holding everything together." I press my palms into the dough the way she's shown me, fold, turn, press. The rhythm is hypnotic. "Why doesn't Uncle Richard ever come here?" I ask. Rosie's hands pause for just a second. "Your uncle's got his own kind of work, honey. Numbers and contracts. That's not his language." "What's his language?" She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Control. I don't understand what she means then. I will. Rosie's kitchen smells like yeast and vanilla, and something I'll later recognize as safety. She hums while she works, old songs from the 40s, and she lets me lick the spoon when we make buttercream. She never once tells me I'm too messy, too slow, too much. My mother stopped bringing me after that summer. She said Rosie was filling my head with unrealistic dreams. My mother wanted me to study business, marry a lawyer, live in a suburb with good schools. I wanted to make bread. By the time I was 16, I'd stopped asking to visit. By 18, I'd enrolled in culinary school to prove I was serious. By 19, I dropped out because I couldn't afford it, and my parents wouldn't co-sign a loan. "You're not cut out for that world, Claire," my father said. "Just get a real job." I got a job at Save More Grocery. I've been decorating sheet cakes and boxing donuts for 11 years. Rosie called me every Sunday. We talked about recipes, about her customers, about the weather. She never once asked me why I gave up. And now she's gone. And the bakery, her life's work, the place that taught me what love tastes like, is mine. The bakery is smaller than I remember. Or maybe I'm just bigger now. The front room has 6 small tables, mismatched chairs, a glass display case that's been there since 1981. The walls are painted butter yellow. There's a chalkboard menu above the counter where Rosie used to write the daily specials in looping cursive. The back kitchen is a mess, not dirty, just lived in. Rosie's apron still hangs on the hook by the oven. Her recipe binder, thick, stained, held together with rubber bands, sits on the metal prep table. I open it. The first page is her handwriting, for Claire. "Because your hands already know." I cry for the first time since the funeral. I spend the first week cleaning. I scrub the ovens, reorganize the dry goods, update the vendor contacts. The building inspector comes by on Thursday. I didn't call him, he just shows up, and he walks through with a clipboard, making notes. "Everything look okay?" I ask. He glances up. "You the new owner?" "Yes." "Richard Donovan said you might need some work done. Electrical, mostly." I frown. "I didn't ask for an inspection." "He did. Said he wanted to make sure the place was up to code before you opened." The inspector taps his pen against the board. "You'll need about $8,000 in upgrades. Panels outdated. Wiring in the back kitchen's a fire hazard." My stomach drops. 8,000? Give or take. He leaves me a copy of his report. I sit at one of the small tables and read it twice. The language is technical, but the message is clear. I can't legally operate until the electrical work is done. I have $4,200 in my savings account. I call Richard that night. "I got the inspection report," I say. "Good. Better to know now than later, right?" "I can't afford $8,000. A pause. Then gently, like he's talking to a child. "Claire, running a business isn't cheap. If you can't handle the overhead, maybe it's time to reconsider." "Reconsider what?" "Keeping it. I've got a buyer interested in the property. I could get you a fair price, help you walk away clean." My throat tightens. Rosie left this to me. "And you can do whatever you want with it. I'm just saying, there's no shame in admitting it's too much." I hang up. I sit in the dark bakery, in the smell of old flour and my grandmother's ghost, and I think about that phrase, too much. I've heard it my whole life. Too sensitive, too stubborn, too much like Rosie. I pull out my phone and text the one person who's never made me feel like I'm too anything. Me. "I think my uncle's setting me up." Kat. "What happened?" Kat Moreno is my best friend since 5th grade. She's a paralegal at a small firm downtown, the kind of person who reads contracts for fun and notices things other people miss. I tell her about the inspection, the $8,000, Richard's offer to help me walk away. Kat. "Did you ever see the will?" Me. "No. He just gave me the key." Kat. "Claire, get a copy of the will. Now." I reopen Rosie's Rise and Shine on a Monday in October. I can't afford the full electrical upgrade, but I hire a licensed electrician to fix the immediate hazards and bring the kitchen up to minimum code. It costs me $3,800, nearly everything I have left. I bake for 3 days straight. Sourdough, brioche, cinnamon rolls, blueberry scones. I use Rosie's recipes, her timers, her oven temperature. I open the doors at 6 a.m. By 7, there's a line out the door. People loved Rosie. They loved her cinnamon rolls, her laugh, the way she remembered everyone's order. And they're curious about me, the granddaughter who disappeared for 10 years and suddenly reappeared. Mrs. Patel, who owns the bookstore next door, buys a loaf of sourdough and hugs me. Rosie would be so proud. I want to believe her. For 2 weeks, it's good. Better than good. I'm breaking even, building a rhythm, remembering what it feels like to create something people line up for. Then Richard shows up. It's a Thursday morning, 9 a.m., right in the middle of the rush. He walks in with Linda and a man I don't recognize. Late 50s, expensive suit, briefcase. Richard doesn't wait for the line to clear. He walks straight to the counter. "Claire, we need to talk." I'm in the middle of now. The customers go quiet. Everyone's watching. I wipe my hands on my apron and step out from behind the counter. "What's going on?" Richard hands me a folded piece of paper. "This is a cease and desist letter. You're operating this business illegally." My heart stops. "What are you talking about?" "The lease agreement you signed with my mother was forged. We have the original document and your signature doesn't match. You've been occupying this property without authorization, and as executor of her estate, I'm formally notifying you that you have 72 hours to vacate." The room spins. "That's not true," I say. "She left this to me. You gave me the key." "I gave you a key to collect your personal belongings. I never said you owned the building." The man with the briefcase steps forward. "Ms. Donovan, I'm Roger Finch, Mr. Donovan's attorney. We have documentation proving that Rosemary Donovan intended to lease this property to you, not transfer ownership. The lease required a $1,500 monthly payment. You haven't paid a single installment. That constitutes breach of contract and unlawful occupation." I look at Richard, at Linda, at the 20 people in my bakery who are now staring at me like I'm a criminal. "This is insane," I whisper. Richard's voice drops, quiet, almost kind. "Claire, you're in over your head. Sign the property over to me and we'll forget this whole thing. No charges, no legal fees. You walk away clean." My hands are shaking. "You set me up. I gave you a chance. You couldn't handle it." He straightens his tie. 72 hours, Claire. After that, I'm filing a police report for fraud and trespassing." He walks out. Linda lingers for half a second, and I see it again. That look. Not pity. Warning. Then she's gone too. The customers leave. All of them. One by one, they set down their coffees, avoid my eyes, and walk out the door. By 10 a.m., I'm alone. I close the bakery that afternoon. I don't have a choice. No one's coming in. By the next morning, there's a notice taped to the door. "Property under dispute. Enter at own risk." I sit on the floor of the back kitchen, my phone in my hand, and I do the thing I've been avoiding for 48 hours. I call Kat. She picks up on the first ring. "Where are you?" "The bakery." "I'm coming." She arrives 20 minutes later with a laptop, a legal pad, and 2 coffees. She sits beside me on the floor, opens her laptop, and doesn't say a word about the fact that I've been crying. "Tell me everything." I do. The key, the inspection, the lease agreement I never signed, Richard's 72-hour ultimatum. Kat types while I talk, her face unreadable. "Did you ever receive a copy of your grandmother's will?" she asks. "No, Richard said he'd handle everything." "Did you sign anything when he gave you the key?" "No." She looks up. "Claire, if you didn't sign a lease, they can't prove you breached it. And if Rosie left you the property in her will, Richard has no legal standing." "But what if she didn't? What if he's telling the truth?" Kat closes the laptop. "Then we find out. But we do it fast." She makes 3 calls. The first is to the county probate court. The second is to the city's business licensing office. The third is to someone she calls a friend who owes me a favor. While she's on the phone, I open Rosie's recipe binder. Tucked between the pages for sourdough starter and brioche is a folded piece of paper, old, yellowed, the creases deep. It's a handwritten note. Claire, if you're reading this, something's happened to me. The bakery is yours. Always was. Don't let Richard tell you otherwise. Look in the piano bench. Everything you need is there. I love you. Keep kneading. Rosie. My hands start shaking. Kat. She looks over. I show her the note. Where's the piano bench? She asks. At Rosie's house. Then that's where we're going. Rosie's house is a small craftsman bungalow 15 minutes outside town. I still have the spare key she gave me when I was 16, back when she'd let me stay over on weekends and we'd bake pies at midnight. The house smells like lavender and dust. Everything is exactly the way she left it. Her reading glasses on the side table, her slippers by the door, the piano in the corner of the living room. The bench is old, upholstered in faded burgundy velvet. I kneel in front of it and lift the lid. Inside, sheet music, a metronome, a stack of old birthday cards, and beneath all of it, a large manila envelope. I pull it out. My name is written on the front in Rosie's handwriting. For Claire. Open only if Richard tries to take what's yours. Kat and I sit side by side on the floor. I open the envelope. Inside, 1. A copy of Rosie's last will and testament. Notarized, dated 2 years ago. 2. The deed to the bakery property. Title transferred to me. Recorded with the county 6 months before she died. 3. A notarized letter from Rosie's estate attorney, confirming that Richard was removed as executor after he attempted to pressure her into selling the bakery. 4. Copies of emails between Richard and a commercial real estate developer discussing offers for the property, dated 3 weeks before Rosie's death. 5. A handwritten letter from Rosie addressed to me. I read the letter first. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, then Richard has done exactly what I was afraid he'd do. He's tried to take the bakery from you. I need you to know, I saw this coming. Your uncle has always been more interested in money than people, and when I refused to sell the bakery to his developer friends, he stopped speaking to me. He called me stubborn, said I was throwing away the family's legacy. But this bakery isn't about money, Claire. It's about the people who walk through the door every morning and trust you to make something with your hands that feeds more than their stomachs. I transferred the deed to you 6 months ago. Richard doesn't know. I made sure of that. The bakery is legally yours. He has no claim. I know you've spent your whole life feeling like you don't measure up, like you're not smart enough, successful enough. But baby, you are the only person in this family who knows how to build something that lasts. Don't let him take this from you. Keep kneading. All my love. Rosie. I can't breathe. Kat is reading the deed, her eyes moving fast, her mouth set in a thin line. Claire, she says quietly, you own this property. Free and clear. It was transferred to you 6 months before Rosie died. Richard lied. I look at the emails, at the developer's name, Crestwood Holdings, LLC, at the offer, $425,000 for commercial property at 1824 Maple Avenue. Richard tried to sell Rosie's bakery while she was still alive, and when she refused, he waited until she died, lied to me, and tried to steal it. Kat and I sit in Rosie's living room until the sun goes down. We don't talk much. We just read, reread, and organize the documents into a timeline that will make it impossible for Richard to lie his way out of this. What do you want to do? Kat finally asks. I look at the deed, at Rosie's letter, at the emails proving Richard's been planning this for years. I want him to admit it, I say. Publicly. Kat smiles. It's not a nice smile. Then we're going to need an audience. Kat's friend, who owes her a favor, turns out to be a local investigative reporter named Jameson Cross. He works for the Tribune, the kind of journalist who loves a good David versus Goliath story. We meet him at a coffee shop downtown. Kat slides the envelope across the table. Jameson reads for 10 minutes without saying a word. Then he looks up. This is fraud, attempted theft, possibly elder exploitation if he was pressuring your grandmother before she died. Can you write about it? I ask. I can do better than that. He taps the emails. Your uncle's planning to flip this property to Crestwood Holdings. That developer's been buying up half the commercial real estate in this district, and there are already zoning complaints. If I can connect Richard to the larger story, this goes from local interest to investigative feature. How long? Kat asks. 3 days, maybe 4. I shake my head. I have 72 hours before he files a police report. I need this handled now. Jameson leans back. Then you're not looking for an article. You're looking for a confrontation. Exactly. He grins. I can work with that. 2 days later, Richard receives an invitation. It's printed on thick cream cardstock, hand-delivered to his office by a courier Kat hired. You are cordially invited to the reopening celebration of Rosie's Rise and Shine Bakery. Saturday, November 12th, 6 p.m., 1824, Maple Avenue. Join us in honoring the legacy of Rosemary Donovan and the next chapter of her life's work. Light refreshments will be served. Kat convinced me to send invitations to everyone. My father, Aunt Diane, all of Rosie's old customers, the members of the Business District Council, and Jameson Cross, who RSVP'd immediately. Richard calls me that night. What the hell is this? It's a reopening, I say calmly. You said I had 72 hours to vacate. I figured I'd throw a party first. You don't own that building, Claire. See you Saturday, Uncle Richard. I hang up. Kat high-fives me. Now, she says. We wait. The night before the reopening, I can't sleep. I go to the bakery at 2 a.m., let myself in through the back door, and I bake. I make Rosie's cinnamon rolls, the ones that take 6 hours because you have to let the dough rise 3 separate times. I make her sourdough, the recipe she taught me when I was 9. I make blueberry scones and lemon bars and a chocolate babka that I've never attempted before but always wanted to try. By 5 a.m., as the bakery smells like butter and sugar, and something I didn't realize I'd been missing. Home. Kat shows up at 6 with coffee and a garment bag. You're not wearing that, she says, eyeing my flour-dusted jeans. I'm a baker. You're a business owner. There's a difference. She makes me change into a simple black dress, pulls my hair into a low bun, and hands me a pair of small silver earrings that belonged to her grandmother. Now you look like someone who owns the room. I look at myself in the bathroom mirror. I don't recognize the woman staring back. She looks older, steadier, like someone who's done kneading and is ready to bake. By 5:45 p.m., the bakery is full. Mrs. Patel from the bookstore. Ruth, the woman who used to buy Rosie's sourdough every Sunday. A dozen other regulars I recognize from childhood. My father stands near the back, stiff, uncomfortable, avoiding my eyes. Aunt Diane is beside him, whispering something urgent. Jameson Cross is near the front with a notebook and a camera, and at exactly 6:02 p.m., Richard walks in. He's wearing a navy suit, his expression calm, controlled, the look of a man who thinks he's already won. Linda is 2 steps behind him. She won't look at me. Richard surveys the room, the crowd, the pastries laid out on the counter. His jaw tightens. Claire, he says loudly, cutting through the conversations, I think we need to clear something up. The room goes silent. I step forward. My hands are steady. Go ahead, Uncle Richard. You've invited all these people here under false pretenses. This property doesn't belong to you. You're operating under a forged lease agreement, and I've been more than patient. But tonight, this ends. Jameson's pen is moving across his notebook. What lease agreement? I ask. The one you signed with my mother. I never signed a lease. Richard reaches into his jacket and pulls out a folded document. He holds it up for the room to see. This lease, dated August 10th, requires a $1,500 monthly payment. You haven't paid a dime. I take the document from his hand. I unfold it slowly, and I read the signature at the bottom. It's not mine. This isn't my signature, I say. Forensic analysis says otherwise. Then your forensic analyst is lying. I hand the paper to Kat. She examines it, then looks at Richard. This is a photocopy, not an original. You can't authenticate a signature from a photocopy. Richard's face darkens. That's the document on file with the estate attorney. Which attorney? Kat asks. Glenn Murphy. Kat smiles. Glenn Murphy was removed as Rosie's estate attorney in April of last year. The court has that on record. The room shifts. People are whispering now. Richard's voice rises. I am the executor of my mother's estate. I have the authority. No, I say quietly. You don't. I reach into the bag at my feet and pull out the manila envelope. I hand the first document to Jameson Cross. This is a copy of Rosie's will, notarized and filed with the county probate court. It names attorney Rebecca Huang as executor. Not you. I hand the second document to Mrs. Patel. This is the deed to this property, transferred to me 6 months before Rosie died. It's recorded with the county. I am the legal owner. I hand the third document to my father. These are emails between Richard and Crestwood Holdings discussing the sale of this property while Rosie was still alive, against her wishes. My father's face goes white. Richard takes a step forward. That's privileged. It's evidence, Kat says, of fraud, elder exploitation, and attempted theft. The room erupts, not loudly, quietly, the kind of murmur that spreads like a flood, filling every corner. Richard turns to Linda. She's staring at the floor. You knew, someone whispers. Linda's voice is so quiet, I almost don't hear it. I told you not to do this. Richard whirls on her. Don't. I told you not to lie to her. I told you Rosie was smarter than you thought. Linda's eyes fill with tears. I told you this would come back. She walks out. Richard stands alone in the center of the room, surrounded by 24 people who now know exactly what he did. Jameson Cross stands. Mr. Donovan, would you like to comment on these documents before I publish my story? Richard's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. He turns and walks out the door. No one stops him. The crowd doesn't leave. If anything, they settle in. Mrs. Patel buys a dozen cinnamon rolls. Ruth orders a sourdough loaf and asks when I'm doing custom orders again. Jameson Cross stays for an hour, taking photos, interviewing customers, scribbling notes. My father approaches me near the counter. He looks older than I remember. I didn't know, he says. Yes, you did. He flinches. I thought, Richard said you couldn't handle it. And you believed him. He looks down. I'm sorry. It's not enough, but it's something. Dad, I say quietly, I'm not asking you to choose between me and Richard, but I am asking you to stop pretending you don't see what he does. He nods. He doesn't hug me. He never has. But he stays for another 20 minutes, and he buys a loaf of brioche before he leaves. Aunt Diane lingers by the door. She doesn't say anything. She just looks at me, and for the first time, I see something other than disappointment. She mouths 2 words, I'm sorry. Then she's gone. That night, after everyone leaves, I sit in the back kitchen with the manila envelope. There's one more item inside. A second letter from Rosie. This one sealed in a smaller envelope marked, Read this after. I open it. Claire, if you're reading this, you did it. You stood up. You didn't fold. I'm so proud of you. I set up that trust because I knew Richard would try to take this from you. Not because he's cruel, though he can be, but because he doesn't understand what this place is. To him, it's real estate. To you, it's a language. I want you to know something. I didn't give you the bakery because you're good at baking. I gave it to you because you know how to build something that lasts, even when people tell you it's not worth it. That's the real inheritance, baby, not the building. The belief that your hands matter. Keep kneading. All my love. Rosie Sam. I fold the letter carefully and tuck it into my apron pocket. Then I go to the front of the bakery and I flip the sign from closed to open. Tomorrow I'll bake. It's April now. The bakery has a line out the door most mornings. I've hired 2 part-time staff. One's a culinary student, the other's a retired teacher who just wanted something to do with her hands. Jameson Cross's article ran in the Tribune 3 weeks after the reopening. The headline, Family, Fraud, and the Fight for a Legacy, How One Woman Reclaimed Her Grandmother's Bakery. It went viral. Not TikTok viral, but local news viral. The kind where people stop you at the grocery store and say, "Hey, aren't you the bakery girl?" Richard never filed charges. He couldn't. Rebecca Huang, Rosie's actual estate attorney, sent him a formal cease and desist. He's currently under investigation for attempted fraud, though I doubt anything will come of it. Linda left him. She's living with her sister in Oregon. She sent me a card last month. It just said, "I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry. I haven't replied yet. I'm not sure what to say." My father comes by once a month. He doesn't apologize anymore. He just orders a coffee and a cinnamon roll and sits at the table by the window. We don't talk much. But he's here. That's something. Kat got promoted to senior paralegal. I bake her a cake every year on her work anniversary. This year's was lemon lavender with buttercream roses. And me? I'm still here, still baking, still learning. Last week, a woman came in with her daughter, maybe 8 years old. The girl watched me knead dough through the kitchen window, her nose pressed to the glass. Her mother bought a sourdough loaf, and as they were leaving, the girl turned and said, "I want to do that when I grow up." Her mother smiled. "Maybe someday." And I thought, maybe sooner than you think. You know what I've learned? Family isn't the people who share your blood. Family is the people who see you clearly and choose to build something with you anyway. Rosie saw me. Kat saw me. Even Linda, in her own quiet way, tried to warn me. Richard didn't see me. He saw an opportunity. And my father? He saw what was easier to see, the version of me that didn't ask him to choose. I don't blame him anymore, but I don't wait for him to see me either. I spent 32 years waiting for my family to believe I was capable, waiting for permission, waiting to be chosen. And then I found an envelope in a piano bench, and I realized I was chosen 10 years ago by the person who mattered most. The rest was just noise. If there's one thing I'd want you to take from this, it's this. The people who love you don't make you prove your worth. They see it before you do, and they build a foundation under your feet so you don't fall when the world tries to pull you down. Rosie did that for me. She saw the storm coming, and she built me a shelter. Now I'm doing the same. For the next person who walks in here and doesn't believe they're enough, I'm teaching that little girl how to knead dough next Saturday. Her mother asked if I do workshops. I said yes, because that's what this place is now, not just a bakery, a place where your hands learn things your head hasn't figured out yet. Now, I'll ask you, have you ever had someone believe in you before you believed in yourself? Drop their name in the comments. I'd love to know who built your foundation. And if this story hit you where it hurts, or where it heals, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next time.